everybody. Welcome to the Female Film Critics panel. And this is very exciting. I know you all look forward to every year, well, twice a year now, we do this best and worst of the year episode. That's a lot of fun. We talk about the year in movies and our favorites. And we have a little bit of a different take that we're doing this time. It should be a lot of fun. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner. Molly's here.
Hello.
Hi. And Amanda's here.
Hey.
Yeah. Hope you all had good holidays and ready for the new year.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. You know what? I woke up at 6:30 this morning because I was overthinking about what I'm going to do in 2025.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was doing.
I was about to make a joke, but I was like, "Oh no, is it bad?" I was about to say like, "Oh, Jimmy Carter wasn't ready. Is it ready?"
Whoever's listening,
is it too early to make a joke like that?
It's too soon. It's too soon.
Well, what we decided to do, because I done a couple other. I was on the KSL movie show and did an episode with my friend Conrado where we talked about our best and worst. I just feel like, and then I have a whole separate video on my best and worst. So I felt like, oh, that's gonna be everyone's gonna know by the time this one comes out. And so I wanted to do something different where we'd still talk about our best and worst, but we decided to do our superlatives. So like our awards for this season, for the year. And I thought this would be kind of fun and have a whole bunch of different categories. And I'll try to remember to put them in the description. So if you want to share your favorites or if you want to do your own video or blog post or whatever with your picks, we'd love, just tag us. We'd love to hear. And I think that this will be a lot of fun. So let's just dive in. The first is just simple favorite movie. And Molly, what about you? What do you got?
So probably mine was a tie between I Saw the TV Glow and Love Lies Bleeding. And I know I brought those up during the first Our Favorite Movies, but I'm just like, nothing else really surpassed them for ones I keep thinking back to and just loving. And I'm just, in fact, I actually got both those films for Christmas. So I was like, yes.
Yay.
Yeah. You know, and maybe we should start out even before moving on that, like, should we just talk about our feelings of the year in movies as a whole? Because I mean, I agree with you that in my favorites, most of them are movies
it was in the first
that
half.
I saw at Sundance or that were early on. I don't have that many of this late season. But the big thing for me is that I only have 4 movies in my top 30 with a budget of over 50 million.
Ooh.
Only 4. And one of those is Nosferatu, and that's exactly 50 million. So it's not like it's a huge budget movie.
Yeah.
But basically studio filmmaking was a total miss for me this year.
Agreed. Indy was so good this year.
Yeah, Indy was amazing this year. Like blew my mind, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Manda? Like, what are the studios missing? What are they doing wrong? Why is so many of them?
I think when a lot of them do these test screenings for audiences, and I think that greatly affects the final product because you can tell that a lot of the focus group, it's like, no, you like the script, just make the movie that you want to make. You think Ridley Scott cares about like group testing, even though Gladiator 2 wasn't the greatest, but still it's like he doesn't care. What happened to just putting the product out there you cared so much about? So now it becomes like a product instead of a project.
It's true, but then you got to feel for them when they do something like Joker Folie à Deux, and they just say, Todd Phillips, make whatever movie you want, and then he's like, okay, I'll make a.
That's an exception.
You know, so like
I think it depends on the director because I'm like, if it was Kubrick, I'd be like, no, you do whatever you want. Doesn't matter because you're Kubrick. You made Doctor Strangelove 2001: Space Odyssey. You can do it. Todd Phillips, he only made one film that made over $1 billion. And they're like, here you go, carte blanche to make what you want. And I don't want to generalize, but I think a lot of focus testings have a lot of younger people who will scroll their phones, will not really be paying attention. And it was kind of a similar thing what I'm thinking with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because they had a whole test screening with teen audiences, and they had a teen saying, this is awful, I hate this. And Robert Zemeckis just said when he saw all the responses that we're not going to change a goddamn thing. They're teens. We're not going to follow them.
It's true.
It's a masterpiece. One of the best movies ever made. So
of course we know Jeffrey Katzenberg was freaking out over a test screening of a focus group of The Little Mermaid and wanted to take out part of your world.
Exactly.
Because evidently the focus group said that it was boring.
Ugh.
It's the best song in that movie.
Howard Ashman, that really helps with Howard Ashman said, you take that song over my goddamn body, which is sad because he only died like in 1991, just like after that. But still,
can you imagine?
He got his way, and we thank Howard Ashman for that. Thank you.
Yes. Well, Manda, what is your favorite? What do you say?
My favorite still is Dune Part 2. I rewatched it last night, and I'm not even like huge on sci-fi, which is incredible to me that I have this as my top, like my favorite of the year. But Denis just tapped into such incredible like humanistic qualities in this like grand scale with this like his characters, and I love Dune Part 2, and like I had a Zendaya like feast this year because Challengers is also like two of my favorite films of the year between those two. So I just think that like on a grand scale of like one of the best sci-fi films of like the past decade, like Denis trumps a lot of things that did come out. And then Challengers for Luca Guadagnino is just, it's so different and it feels so fresh. Even if you weren't a fan of like the story or the nonlinear storytelling, I still think that all three of them, like Feist, O'Connor, and Zendaya brought something really unique, and Luca did too. So I really love both of them.
Yeah, my favorite, I have the Wild Robot, Ghost Light, A Real Pain, Musica, and Hundreds of Beavers are my top 5. And I'll talk about all of them later on in different categories. But the Wild Robot was my favorite movie of the year. I just thought it was such a beautiful story about the transformative nature of nurturing, that even a robot that can't help but be fundamentally altered from nurturing this another being, this goose. And I just think that was really special and very moving and beautifully animated. And I was so impressed with how grown up they allowed it to be. I mean, there was the fox, but not in the sense of like a typical DreamWorks sidekick. You didn't have like, modern humor, or like it was a pretty grown up movie, and they had the guts for it, and I appreciate it. So I loved that so much. So now the question is, what do we think is the best movie? So we have our favorites, but then we think, what is the nuts and bolts best made film of 2024? Would it be the same for you or something different? What about you, Molly?
Well, mine was different. I think mine was, well, it's another one from my first half. I think The Beast is the best made film. Nice. I believe it's just a great, it's not even a perfect adaptation, but it just gets to the heart and spirit of the Henry James short novel, and the acting is just perfect, and everything just syncs together. All those timelines that actually go into place, and just, it's so good. And that's why I was like, it's just most cohesive in its themes, not narrative, but in its themes, and it's just so good. I love it too. I was like, should I put that as a favorite too? And I was like, no, I think it's the best film, but I don't think it's my favorite. But yeah.
So, Manda, what about you? What would you say is the best made?
I think as a well-rounded film this year, I do think Conclave is one of the best pictures of the year. I loved every second of that. I think the procedural nature of it really just enhanced the story. Because on paper, like that could be extremely boring to some people, but I think that what Edward Berger did with the characters, and then just having it feel like they were gossiping and having them going to each other and showing the corruption within the conclave just to choose a new pope, I thought was like brilliant. And then the score is one of my absolute favorites of the year as well. Production design, cinematography, like it's absolutely stunning. Like I just think it's such a well-rounded film. As I said, like everything to me was like perfectly executed. And that's the one of the best of the year, like my favorite as well.
When I'm thinking of my what I think is the best made film as far as pacing, characters, dialogue, story, all of that, I really would go with A Real Pain. I just think that those characters were so well developed. It was funny. It was sweet. It was tender. I felt like we all have those people in our lives. Like, yeah, he was a little grating, but they used him just enough, Kieran Culkin's character, that it was relatable grating. It's like, yeah, we all have that cousin in our life, and their relationships with their grandma, and just the whole history, and then processing everything. That I thought it was really good.
I just had a thought. I don't think Jesse Eisenberg would take it as a compliment, but I mean it as a compliment. He is our generation's Woody Allen, but in a good way and not a sex pest way. Because
I can
a
see
lot
that
of Woody
too,
Allen's
actually.
films are really well made, and he's got the dialogue, and he's got these characters so well written characters, and Jesse Eisenberg really has that. He does that really well too.
I agree.
He was in a Woody Allen movie. In Cafe Society.
He was,
remember that one.
He does admire Woody Allen, but I don't think he never wants to work with him ever again.
He's like, I'm good, but
maybe he got some some inspiration, because
he probably did.
He'd be a talented filmmaker, so yeah, I can see that. I don't think he'd be offended by that. So very good. Okay, so next one, worst movie. And what do you think, Molly? What was the worst movie you saw?
I think mine is pretty obvious if you've been following me, but Amelia Perez. I just did not like that movie at all. I just
to me, Amelia Perez felt like somebody told the director, you can never make another movie again, so you need. So he's like, okay, I'm going to put everything into this one movie.
Filmmaking.
Every
this
idea
definitely works. And just like. And I'm just watching it. It's so gaudy and it's so racist at times, and of course transphobic. And I'm just like. And my sister, she works with immigrants from Mexico, and I told her about some of the stuff, and then she's like, did they not speak to anyone of Mexican descent to work with this? No, only one person was in that entire cast. Everybody else was French. From Spain. Everyone else
don't get it.
Or the US.
Yeah, I know. Like other parts, none of them. It just, and I don't understand why it's getting so many, so much acclaim. I'm just like,
is mind-boggling. Like it's mind-boggling. I cannot believe it. Like I didn't hate it, but just the fact that people are praising it is making me dislike it. The more like everyone talks about it,
I know they're like, there's no other musical like it. I'm like, we had Wicked. Wicked is way better than this. We've had. Yeah, the end is better than this movie. I like the end, and of course, people
honestly,
are like, oh, that was slow.
It's like super flawed, but I would rather watch Joker Folie à Deux than watch Amelia Perez.
I know, and that's crazy that you even say that, because Joker 2 is bad, man. Like,
I know,
it's bad.
And I'm so bummed because there were a bunch of edgy musicals.
Can't sing, and you're like, oh.
There were a bunch of edgy musicals this year that I thought, okay, I'm going to be the one because I'm a musical softie. I thought I was going to, but I didn't like any of them. I didn't like the end. I didn't like any of the edgy musicals this year. So I'm not as big a softie as I thought I was, evidently.
Got to go back to Bollywood. Got to go back to Indian cinema. They had better musicals this year. We got to do it.
Sure.
I'm
sure they did.
I know.
Yeah. Well, for me, the worst movie of the year technically didn't go into theaters. It was Megamind, the Doom Syndicate.
Oh, that's right.
They didn't have any of the cast. They didn't. The story, the animation, just everything was terrible. And I've always been kind of a champion for the original Megamind. I really felt like I feel like it's underrated and it's really funny.
It is.
And it kind of got just forgotten by Despicable Me and its phenomenon.
It's sad.
That really bummed me out. But then as far as theatrical, it was Borderlands. I mean, this was a movie without a plot. Like it really had no story. Like it starts out with Cate Blanchett's character. She's like a bounty hunter. She gets this assignment to find this girl. She literally finds her in the next scene. He finds her, and then that's like the whole rest of the movie is just them kind of ambling.
Because you have to have Tiny Tina in there because she's Tiny Tina.
There was no story.
One of the most annoying characters in all video games. Like only middle school bros think she's funny. And people with middle school bro humor.
It really felt like they showed up every day and were like, well, let's film this. we're all here.
Improv classes.
I was actually kind of hoping, being like, okay, maybe with the failure of this movie, they won't do a video game adaptation of Death Stranding because A24 is doing that. And then Sonic 3 came out and it was a hit. And I was like,
I knew it was going to be.
It's just not going to happen. They're not going to stop making video game adaptations now.
No.
The last one for me was Dear Santa, Jack Black playing the devil. I think if it had been an adult that sells his soul to the devil, I think it would have been more palatable. But having a little child, and the reason why he does it is his parents are going to get a divorce, and he doesn't want them to get a divorce, so he sells his soul to Satan to help his like, it was just like, oh, this is a horrible premise. Like, I hated it, and it wasn't funny enough to make up for that premise. So it was not for me, that's for sure. But Manda, what about you? What's your worst?
Well, I have Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah. That's in my 10.
I love Papa Francis, like the Godfather, the outside. Like, the guy is the goat.
Rumblefish, yes.
Rumblefish, Dracula. Like, he is the goat for me. Okay. I was very confused watching this film.
I was too. And it was so funny when I did my worst of the year video, I forgot to include Megalopolis, and then I was like, no, I have to refilm.
Like, no, I have to put this in there. It's almost like I don't even want to put it as like the worst, because I had a laugh watching it. Like, I had a very fun time watching Megalopolis.
I did too, and I can't say if I liked it or not. I admire it. I at least admire it, but I can't say I like it. But I still recommend people watch it because it's like unlike anything this year.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, he's still talented. It's just I don't know, there was too much going on in this film.
I mean, it's another example of giving directors I mean, in his case, it was his own funding, so who cares?
Yeah.
But like, but like, allowing them to make their vanity projects is not always
yeah, sometimes it's not.
It's like, no. Like, it's fine. And then
good pick.
I also have Terrifier 3. I'm not a massive fan of it. I mean, everyone just keeps telling me to, like, it's one of the best horror films of the year. And then when people say that, you're like, oh, okay. And you believe them. And then you watch it, and I was like dumbfounded by the choices that they made. The kills are good for a horror film, but I really liked the second one. And then I watched the third one. I'm like, but it just you undid everything that you did in this. So that kind of annoyed me to get the horror in there.
Because it was a Christmas movie. My one of our co-hosts on Hallmarkies podcast, she loves horror, and she sees a lot of horror, but she doesn't like those movies either. And I was like, you don't have to see it. Don't see it. It's, especially if you don't like it. And she's like, no, I will do the duty for the podcast.
This poor girl.
I was like, just say in your review that Rachel said you don't have to see it.
Yeah, it's like, no, you don't. People kept asking me, do I have to see Amelia Perez? And I said, no, you don't.
Like, even my family and I, we would do all the Oscar films, like the ones that are nominated or whatever. And they got to Amelia Perez, and I said, no. If it doesn't make any noise, you're okay. You don't have to be subjected to watch it. Like, it's fine. So, like,
there's always a movie that's like that makes it into the top 10 Oscars Best Picture. There's always sometimes several. Something like The Darkest Hour that, like, it's totally forgettable. But like, this one is particularly weird because usually those are just sort of bland Oscar baity films. This is like a mess, a complete mess. And so, like, it's just a weird one to fit that role for this year, and it seems like it's going to.
It's the controversial one, I feel like. So they need to like bring something in. But I also, like, side note, complete tangent Oscar wise, I do think they look at what's going to bring in people to watch the telecast as well, and that's a massive factor that I've noticed in the past like 5-6 years.
That's why Golden Globes has that biggest box office hit, and I was
ridiculous.
Isn't the money of the award enough?
And they
Dune's not there.
They didn't have Dune.
No.
Alien Romulus did something, but sure. I don't know.
And I forget, they had one in there that wasn't even profitable. I can't remember which one it was.
I forgot which one at the top of my head. I was like, all right.
Was it Mufasa? Even because
no, it wasn't Mufasa. I can't remember which one it was.
It was nominated without it even coming out because they're like, Disney. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Let's talk about biggest disappointment. For me, the biggest disappointment was definitely Wolves. I was really excited about this. I mean, I thought that, George Clooney and Brad Pitt would have like good chemistry. They're friends. They've worked together in the past. I thought the banter would be good. But then when it didn't get a theatrical, I was like, that's really strange. And sometimes you watch movies that go straight to streaming and you're like, why did they like Hitman? Why on earth did they not? Really, who knows? But like at other times you're like, yeah, I get it. And this was an example. It was such a boring, bland, nothing burger of a movie. I just the banter wasn't funny. It wasn't engaging. I didn't care. It wasn't cool shot. There was just nothing. It was so lame. And people were like, oh, well, they don't want to make a sequel. I'm like, a sequel? The sequel to this nothing movie.
Like, he gave back the money. He was like, I don't want to make this because the first one was bad and I don't want to go with this. And I also don't think Brad Pitt and George Clooney are very close as friends anymore. Would not surprise me.
You can tell.
Yeah, you could tell. Like, yeah, they're not as close anymore. So
it was a cash grab.
I didn't know that. That makes sense then why it was just flat. It was so, I don't know. I just thought it was so lame.
It's so funny.
I need to get a little bit of money for my kids.
Literally. But it flopped. And then like literally a week after they pulled the plug on the sequel.
Because the director even said no. The director said, I don't want this. Take your money back. I don't want to do another one.
But then the director was all affronted. Like, how dare Apple not do a sequel?
Yeah.
Because they promised him a theatrical release in the first place. Then he didn't get it. So it's like, because they went back on their promise. So he's like, I'm not going to trust Apple to do this.
But I wouldn't want to make another movie with him after. No. I mean, I don't know. I was just like, you should just be quiet after what.
Yeah.
I don't know. Other disappointments for me, Red One, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, both of them I just thought were so lame. And terrible to look at, boring, not fun. I mean, this was a year of just, like I said, studio films just being pretty disappointing, but I think those two were the most disappointing. For me. What about you? What about you, Molly? What do you have?
I feel I have the controversial picks for this one. So I have three. So I put The Substance in here, I think, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna leave it at that because I got just like piled on for my take. So I was like,
well, we have a whole episode of Female Filmmakers panel where we talked about Substance. So you and I.
Yes. And then also for me, Wicked, which that doesn't mean it's bad. I know. I was disappointed though. It just kept going and going. And I've seen it twice. Even my sister, who loves seeing it in the theater, she was just like, oh my God, this runtime is really getting to me now. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's just so long. And I've seen the stage play. I used to have t-shirts for Wicked. I read the book twice. I was just like, I was a huge Wicked fangirl in middle school and high school. It was one of my favorite musicals, and I'm watching this one and I'm just like, this is kind of dull at points. I'm just like, the choreography is great, the actors are great, the camera angles are kind of boring, and just like the lighting is bad at times, and I know it's the symbolism right there, but I just don't think it was done very well, or just like, it still looked pretty ugly to me at points. And I was like, why can't you be beautiful the whole movie? Because there's so many great like the Ozdust ballroom scene is great, but then you have the scene right before the library where it's all gray and bland when they're dancing through life. And you're like, why does it look like this? Why can't it be consistently great looking? It's just, it was just, and also Defying Gravity was way too long. It was just, and you lost so much momentum when you're going in there and it's an action scene. Oh, gotta get up on this balloon because we gotta have this Easter egg for Wizard of Oz fans. And you're like, we don't need this. We already saw the balloon. It's in there.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that there were some problems. I get it.
It's still a good movie.
I really enjoyed it, and especially with how weak studio films were, like it was one of the more satisfying ones for me. But I can see it. I agree in Defying Gravity. I mean, in the stage show, they do interrupt it like a couple times, you know, the whole like, I hope you're happy now.
Yes.
Or your cause forever.
It's not as many interruptions, I will say.
Not as many, not as long. And they did really stretch that scene out.
They did.
They stretched the Emerald City scene so long. And I almost thought to myself, are they going to skip Sentimental Man? Because that song sucks. That song sucks.
I thought that too.
And it kept playing. And then it played. I was like, no. No, you could have just had this be dialogue. You didn't have to have this, but
I'm still not convinced it needed to be 2 movies. We'll see how they pull it off. But yeah, I get it. I get it. What about you?
I had one more. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And I think this one will probably be the most controversial, but the new Nosferatu. I didn't dislike it. I liked it, but it's the weakest of the Eggers films for me, and definitely the weakest iteration of the character, in my opinion. Just so people know, in my opinion. So you're not like, how dare you? But I felt the acting was great, the cinematography was great, so much of the visuals is great, but the writing just really brought it down for me. And and it just left me a little cold after all that, and just I was not energized by it. And I felt it was a bit too gory at times. And I was like, I don't think we needed this, but that was just.
I actually think it's his most like approachable mainstream film.
Me too.
And maybe that's why I liked it the best.
And I didn't like why for me because I was like, this is too approachable. I like it when he's a bit more opaque.
Like I felt like, okay, this is it. This is Dracula. This is the story. It was pretty, you know, like it was. Like really leaning into the sensuality and things, but but aside from that, it was pretty standard. And I guess that's why I liked it. But if you're going in there looking for something, you know, like people crawling on hands and knees, barking, you know, like in the Northman, or you know, weird stuff like in Lighthouse. Then I get it. But
yeah, for me, I was just thinking to myself for most of it, it's like, why am I not just watching the 1922 version? Because I think that's more visually appealing to me. I think it's done better.
I thought it was so cool.
It was hard for me to watch the 22 version. Like I really tried to get it.
So
I do think like shadowing wise, like he did incorporate that too. I think it was like a perfect kind of marriage between that and Dracula, but I do understand what you're saying.
Even though my favorite is still Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, the vampire, which
that's good too.
Yeah, I'm one of the
Dracula is like the one horror franchise I've seen. I think almost all of them.
Same. I love Dracula. I love it.
And read the book.
Me too. It's one of my favorite books ever. Like I love that book so much. It's so good.
Yeah. So, Manda, did we get your worst? What was your worst?
Worst, we did. This is disappointing one, right? We're doing the disappointment. I did Terrifier. Skip over
your worst.
No, I did Terrifier 3 and then Megalopolis. But mine.
So disappointing. What is your Manda? What's your most disappointing?
Oh, it's Joker Folio, duh. Like absolutely. Because I really enjoy, like, it's controversial. I loved that first one. Like that score, I listened to it like daily. Like it's phenomenal work. I think Joaquin was like haunting in that. And I love the character work for Arthur Fleck and for the Joker as like a complete Elseworlds story and not the Joker that we're kind of familiar with. So I really loved it. And then we get this.
Yeah.
Todd Phillips, my guy. If you're gonna make a musical, do not make a jukebox musical. I wanted original songs, man.
Well, and
not
make
only
them sound good. It's fantasy sequences. We know that Joaquin can sing. He did it and walk the line.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what
why
are you
does
doing?
it sound like that?
No idea. I'm
So
like, he can have a good voice.
It's
I
fantasy.
wonder if I would like this movie because I hated the first film. So I'm like, and I have zero expectations for it to be good. So would I actually like this one?
So you're like, oh, you have zero. I get that. If you had
bizarre.
no expectations, like that's amazing. Me, I'm like on a high here. I'm like, let's go, Lady Gaga. Yes, go ahead, Stephanie. Show me your acting skills. Like it was just, she was very good, and at times I think she was better than Joaquin, which is crazy. She has such so little to work with, but also you hire Lady Gaga. She can write the songs, but you're also making her sing badly. For what reason, I don't know.
Mind that it was jukebox, but I just don't understand why they had them sound like that. Like I thought for sure I was going to be the one being like, "Come on, guys, it's not that bad." But no.
Yeah, it's like no, and it was. I think for me, the peeve with the jukebox musical is that the song choices were horrid. Like if you actually chose like really good songs to integrate, the second they said, we're gonna build that mountain, I said, watch them freaking sing this song in the next one. And they did. And then they kept singing that exact same song. I'm like, guys, are you serious right now? Like it was so disappointing. And it was so long. And then the ending, which I will not spoil, pissed me off so much.
It was really grown. The ending was terrible. I agree. And it was so odd the way they kept referring. It was like they were apologizing for the first movie. They kept referring to it as, did you watch that TV movie? Did you watch the TV movie about you? I'm like, this got nominated for Best Picture.
I'm like, don't make fun of them like that. Like, what are you doing?
Like, that's so weird to say.
It won the Golden Lion at Venice.
Like, yeah, exactly. And like, it's so weird to say that about your own film. Like, I don't know. I mean, they were trying to be all meta, I guess. It was strange. I agree. My biggest surprise, I'd say horror in 2024 was pretty much, I mean, I didn't see the bad horror. But for me, Strange Darling, I saw the TV Glow, Heretic, What You Wish For, Your Monster, Nosferatu, and The Substance were all wins. All movies I enjoyed. And, I haven't always been a big horror person. So to have all of those movies in my top 30 is pretty cool. So that was surprising. What about you, Molly?
So I decided to just focus on one for biggest surprise, but Christmas Eve at Miller's Point, I was thoroughly charmed. I was not expecting that. I was thinking I'll just watch this because I like Francesca Scorsese. I like the actor from 8th grade, and it looks charming. It's Christmas time. Let's watch. I'm gonna watch this. And I was watching it with my friend, and I was like, this is actually really sweet. It's sentimental. It's very poignant at times, and everybody looks like real people. It's not just all these Botox face and plastic surgeries. These actors look like real people in a real Christmas party in 2006. And I was like, this is so sweet. I was thoroughly charmed. And I saw that Michael Cera also produced the film. I was just like, he was super charming too as the police officer. And every character, I just felt like I know those people. I know these people. I know these rituals. It just felt comforting. It was like a warm hug on Christmas Eve.
I can see that. It had a lot of nostalgic vibes. It didn't quite have enough story for me to really engage me, but I totally get it. I get it. What about you, Manda? What's your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise actually is The Wild Robot. I heard such like mixed reviews coming out of TIFF, which was surprising. So either people were like, it's the best animated film of the year, or like it was so mediocre that I don't understand why people were. I know I said the exact. I'm like, but it's an animated film. Like people are crying, and then some people are like. It was just weird getting it like a mixed review for that. But then I watched it. I thought the animation was absolutely stunning. Like one of the the best, truly one of the best I've seen this year. The story is so heartfelt and touching. And then I thought Lupita Nyong'o's voice work was absolutely incredible. So shout out to her. And if they gave an award for best voice performance, I would actually give it
My
to
critic group does, and she
so
was
does
on the
mine.
list,
Yeah.
so
So I was like, thank God we're gonna say
I
that.
agree.
But I cried. I was crying, and like it's again like the attachment. I mean, everyone has a mom, and it's just the fact that like that maternal energy, like to actually just help everyone in the forest, and like her learning how to detach. Like it's just so beautifully done. So I was very surprised with that one. Because like given everyone was saying, I'm like, okay, I'm scared to go into this now to watch it, and I'm happy I did, and it was great.
Next up, we have favorite supporting performance, and for me, I give Kieran Culkin. I think is he was so good, so that's my top choice. And then Ariana Grande and Kyle Gallner in Strange Darling. What flips in for that character by the end is I think really a lot due to his performance.
Love it so much with that non-linear. It's so good.
I agree with start out thinking he's the villain,
and
then by the end you're rooting for him successfully. So
it's phenomenal.
Yeah. What about you, Molly?
All right, so mine's just going to be one. I just wanted to mostly do like one or two for these ones. So my favorite supporting performance this year was Michelle Austin in Hard Truth, which I feel is going to be shut out of so much of the awards consideration. But she was so good as the sister. As
she was
sister
really good.
Marianne Jean Baptiste, and having to still love her sister after the death of their mother, and having that sisterly relationship, and the fact she's trying to find happiness and joy in her life while her sister is suffering through her depression and issues. And it's just such a heart-wrenching performance, and just such a good movie. I think it's the best performances. My favorite performances of this year are from Hard Truths, which
they were both excellent. They were both really good. I agree with you there. What about you, Manda?
I would say Kieran Culkin and Ariana Grande. Those are like my top two for sure. But I respect the Kyle Gallner one 100% because he blew my mind. So definitely those three.
All right, next up we have Best Couple, and for me that would be Musica. It would be like a couple in there. I loved them so much. And then also in Touch, both the young and the old couple were both really had wonderful chemistry. Were both really good. What about you, Molly?
All right, mine of course is Lou and Jackie from Love Lies Bleeding. It just like they become the outlaw lesbian couple, and they just they just adored each other so much. And their chemistry, Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien's chemistry, was just off the charts with that movie. They were so good. In fact, it's going to come back again. So on this list, but
yeah. What about you, Manda?
I have Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona in Hitman. And I also have Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh in We Live in Time.
Oh, good choice. Yeah, those are good. Well, best kiss, I have Hitman. Had, I think, the best kiss.
I agree.
Yes.
I also would say Challengers. Just for funsies. Just for funsies. So.
I was about to do Challengers, but I was like, no, I think someone else is going to do that. So the one they put on the box set, Love Lies Bleeding, just like every kiss between them, and just like
they
were so good.
I can see that.
Like, all their kisses were just so energized. So it's just like, Challengers for honorable mention for me.
Okay, next we have movie you most wanted to talk to others about, and for me that was Heretic. Just because I was a sister missionary, and so I naturally just kind of wanted to talk and how did it relate to my experience, and did an episode of Female Film Critics panel with my friend Rebecca on it. And I had like after the movie, my brother and I talked for like an hour. Just it had a really good heart to heart, so it was great. So I would say Heretic would be my number one choice, and Strange Darling would be the other one. Although you couldn't talk about it until someone had seen it because you don't want to give away.
Very true.
It's true. So, what about you, Molly?
So I have two. One is Red Rooms. I just wanted to talk about it with so many people. I've already discussed it with my group chat a little bit. It's just, it's so good.
Yeah,
discussions of obsessions with true crime and the obsession with serial killers, and
that
of course,
was a good one.
Yeah, and placing real life violence in a gaming
I
scenario.
just watched that last. It was it was the day before our nominations for UFCA went in, because another one of the critics said, "Oh, y'all, I've got to see this." So I watched it, and it was really good. So.
Yes. Yeah. And the other one is that I'm still waiting to talk to people about is Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul.
Yeah.
I love the series. Wallace and Gromit is one of my favorite series. I got the complete cracking collection for Christmas this year. And I just quote it at least once a week. And I'm just like, I want to discuss this. I already told one of my coworkers who loves Wallace and Gromit too. I'm just like, I'm going to come when it comes out on Netflix after work. And I need to discuss this with you. And he said, well, I'm probably going to take a bit of time. I was like, dang it, I will discuss this with you when we be together Sunday.
What about you, Manda?
I have The Substance. I think it just blew my mind watching that, especially as a midnight madness at TIFF. Like I stayed up till 3 watching that thing. It was crazy.
And it was a fun movie to talk about. Like
so fun.
Wherever you landed on it, it was fun.
Yeah, even if you didn't like it was fun to talk about.
Yeah, it was.
It was fun. I will say that was the one I wanted to talk about, but I was like, oh, I don't want to make people mad anymore. So I'm just like,
I hate when that happens.
I know.
Next, we have underrated, a movie critics were too hard on. For me, I would say Arthur the King. I don't think it's actually rotten, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like so heartwarming. And then when the dog doesn't die,
you're like, yeah,
so excited. And there's a scene where they're stuck on a jet line or jet rope, whatever they call those things. And it was so tense. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was way better than seemingly almost making it out else. I really liked it. And it just and I'm a sucker for like inspirational sports movies. And they really make it seem like, I mean, spoiler alert, they really make it seem like that dog is going to die. And then when it pulls through, I was just like, I was so happy.
It reminds me of this Dave Corbin children's book. It's like, no more dead dogs.
That's the one that
joke in the book is that the books with dead dogs get awards, and then Dave Corbin's book actually got the Newbery Award, so without killing the dog, and I was like, yay!
The other one that I liked way more than most critics was The Sound of Hope. And this one, because it's Angel Studios, and it has a conservative perspective. So some people are just not going to be open to it. But I thought it was a really beautiful story of community and what these people did for adopting and fostering all of literally every single child in their in their area. There were no ones left. And I thought it was pretty honest and well acted. And so I enjoyed that one. And so that would be my other choice. But what about you, Molly?
Well, one of them I was realizing that, it was just audiences who didn't like it, not critics. But that was one of my things, was the feeling that the time for doing something has passed. I thoroughly enjoyed that one, but it's only got like a 36% audience score. So I'm going to go more into depth into the one that critics had more of an issue with, and Drive Away Dolls. I adore that movie. I think that it's so much fun. Margaret Qualley is just doing amazing work, just aping the Southern accent she apparently had to hear in Asheville growing up in there. And I was like, that's how she got that accent. That's how she could get it. And I just loved it's a road trip to see all the lesbian bars, especially because lesbian bars are basically non-existent especially after the recessions. And I was just like, it's like this nostalgic chip that I never actually had. But it was just like, I really like this. And you think it's this whole mystery, and you're like, they have gold, something like, no. No, I just like,
I didn't love it, but I can see it. Yeah. What about you, Anna?
So this is in my top 5 of the year, and it just made me very sad to see them drag Saturday Night to filth, a lot of them. I don't think it's a bad movie, but people hated it. Critics walked out of that premiere at TIFF, and I'm like, what do you hate so much about it? Like, why are you guys being so mean? But like mean to Jason Reitman, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite movies of the year. Maybe because in all honesty, I think you have to be like a diehard SNL fan to just be like, oh my gosh, they did this so well. And it's completely fabricated. Like, it's not like real conversations that even happen. It's just what happened in Jason Reitman's head of what that opening night was. But I really enjoyed it, and I think that they were a little bit too harsh on it. I also think they were
I liked it too. I mean, I don't think they needed to put this constraint of it being, it didn't need to be the 90 minutes before, whatever it was. Like, I don't, they didn't need to do that, because that's where it's like so ridiculous that all this stuff could happen and that all, like, there was no reason, like, so I thought they made their task more difficult than it needed to be, but I still had fun with it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, like it's fun to see them perform like important scenes that, like, you know, like Weekend Update, like stuff like that. It was just really cool to see how that came to fruition and became so popular. And the other one, I'll make this one quick, is Dev Patel's directorial debut, Monkey Men. They were really hard on that one, and it's one of the best action films of the year, and it's been flying under the radar, which sucks. But they were too hard on Dev Patel.
Not my sister. She bought the Blu-ray day one.
Yes,
I love Patel's her celebrity crush. So
I liked it. I had fun with it. There were so many movies that were overrated this year, like that. I just don't understand why people were loving them. But for me, one of the biggest, even though it's not that high on Rotten Tomatoes, 72%. But just Kinds of Kindness, I just hated it. It was unbearable. I hated every second of it. And at this point, I feel like Lanthimos could just like have Emma Stone with a stick and just be like waving around a stick, and people would be like, it's brilliant. Like whatever he does, like the stories were terrible. Like they weren't interesting, and they weren't like, and what it was all the cannibalism and the, like, I just hated it so much. It was painful. And I just don't understand, like, why. I don't know. I just feel like we give like certain filmmakers such a pass, and
I know.
I don't like that. Like, nobody should get a pass. Like, you should tell a story. Like, tell 3 stories.
Or at least make them take breaks so they can get their creative juices going instead of just making a film every year.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and like, is there ever going to be a point where it's like, okay, this is too far? Like, I don't think so for him. I really do think
he of all people,
Emma Stone just with a stick.
He's gonna keep.
Maybe he can do another version like Sallow. Maybe that. Like, and then people were like, he's gone too far. Even though that was all simulated in Sallow. So people think it was real things. Like, no, it was not. They were not. They were eating chocolate in that scene. That was chocolate.
I mean, you end up with this, like, Godard. You end up with late stage Godard, where it's just like total randomness. There's nothing. And you're just like, that's not a movie. Like, you're making the audience do all the work, bring all this, like, the meaning and the story, and you're putting your actors through like really uncomfortable situations. And I guess it's okay because you're an artist and you have this relationship. I guess they like working with you, but I don't know. I just like, I just hated it so much. So that was definitely most overrated in my opinion. But I mean, at least Poor Things to me had like a story.
Yeah.
You know, there was something happening, but not this. Excuse me. But Molly, what about you?
So originally I was thinking, should I put Amelia Perez in here twice? But I saw that the ratings for Rotten Tomatoes had gone down. It went from like 89% fresh to like 70%. So I was like, no. So I'm just going to stick with the substance right here for overrated for me. I don't think it's as clever as it thinks it is. I think it does think you're stupid, or at least it thinks that, oh, you're not paying attention. So I have to show the same shot over and over and over again. So you actually get that, oh, that guy's on the substance too. Even though you saw his needle thing, you saw that, and then it's just like, oh, you got to get to the card now on the ground, and like close up of the card. You're like, we don't need all this. We really don't.
I know, it is
Tarjay, we don't.
It's a movie that if you don't go where it's trying to have you go, it's got like, there's so many holes, so many things that don't make sense. There's so many, like, and so like I was willing to go there, but like I get it. Like as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, wait, why doesn't she have a manager? Why doesn't she have an assistant? Why is nobody rent? Like there's you start asking all these questions, but like but yeah, so I get it. What about you, Manda? What do you think's overrated?
Mine has been completely controversial since day one. And it is The Brutalist. I think I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it yet, so
you know what? You don't really have to.
It's been waiting in my inbox. I still have. My friend really wants to see it because she loves Brady Corbet and she loves Vox Lux. So
I love Vox Lux. So I was like, let me give this guy another chance. This is great. The Brutalist is fantastic in the first half. Absolutely fantastic in the first half. Everything, like beautiful cinematography, score, like everything's bang on. And then when you get to the second half of this film, it just hits it too on the nose for me, and it's bloated. Like it's a 3-hour, 45, almost like 4-hour runtime with an intermission built in that they can't really take out. Like it's 15 minutes that's in there. I just think it got really bloated. There were too many things that he was trying to do, and it was too on the nose that it made me very uncomfortable. And I understand it's the title of the movie. I'm aware of it. But just this immigrant story went way too dark, and it spiraled for me that it didn't even have like a cohesive ending that made sense in that case. But I'm only saying this here. I have not spoken about this.
I mean, I've already said some very controversial stuff on this. So
I don't talk about this movie. Like everyone knows I dislike it. But I can say as a technical achievement, sure, but no.
I really did admire it. I get it.
Yeah.
All those things are valid. But it was for that kind of, for the Oscar baity discussion, I did have it pretty high, but I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Where are we? Okay, so Underseen, I have Hitman, just because what are they doing? Stupid Netflix.
I know.
That movie should have been a huge hit.
Should have been in theaters, man. Like play to a crowd.
Richard Linklater has not had a hit because Netflix keeps buying his movies. Like it was the same thing with the space age, the rotoscope animated film that should have had more people watching that. It was so good.
I mean, I'm convinced that thing could have made $200 million with the right publicity and release date, and with just how big Glenn Powell is gotten, and
like
I don't know, just it's so sexy and it was so fun and funny, and
anyone but you proved people want to watch romantic comedies in the theaters.
But even Twisters, like people were going bananas for him after watching Twisters. That I'm like, why didn't you put this in theaters for him alone? Like, I guess like the funnel effect of like, this one has Glenn Powell, and then maybe that worked for Netflix, but it made no noise when it came out too, which sucks. It sucks. It really does.
Yeah. What about you, Molly?
So for me, the underseen ones that I really adored are Good One and Janet Planet. Both
heard about Janet Planet. Yeah.
Great debuts, and great debuts for female directors. And I also was already a fan of Annie Baker. I really liked her play The Flick. Especially if you're working in a movie theater, when you read that play, it just hits so on the nose, and you could see why she got a Pulitzer Prize. But
I don't know. Good One. What's that?
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
It's the one about the daughter who goes with her dad and her dad's best friend on a camping trip before she's about to go to college. And they go through all these dilemmas that happen with it because the best friend still acts like he's in college, and the dad still gives him a lot of slack for it because he cares so much for that friendship. And it leads to a lot of uncomfortable places that a lot of men put women in that just hit me so much. There's a part near the end, I don't want to spoil it, but it was just like, I was gutted. I was not expecting that. And it's with this small, this quaint, it just like, it seemed very quaint at times. And it reminded me a bit of Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always when you get to that part. It made me feel like that. Not as badly, but it was just like gut punch, because there has been somebody like that and your dad will like back them and not your own daughter, and it hits you, or your brother will back them and not you, and it's just heart-wrenching, and it was just so good, and it was under the radar. It was at Sundance, and
was it?
Gosh, it was so good. I highly recommend it. I actually rented it because I was like, okay, I really want to see this film. I read a great review from someone, and I was like, I want to check this out myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, like 4.5 stars. This is just so good.
Yeah, Jana Planet, you definitely have to be, you can't be too concerned about plot. It has no plot. But I enjoyed it for that kind of film. What about you, Amanda?
I have 3. I saw the TV Glow. I think like more people should. I loved it. Yeah, I was like, it's in my top. What is it? It's my top 15. I absolutely loved it.
So
I thought I told you guys.
At least people on Twitter are watching it. So I'm like, at least that.
So we all 3 had it in our top 15.
Yeah, it was very well done. It was very good. I was completely just mesmerized by it, and it keeps you in a trance the entire time, which is so hard to do. Also, given the subject matter, like what they're doing with the TV series, I thought that was genius. I also really enjoyed Dee Dee, which is a very good coming of age film. I really enjoyed that. Didn't expect to like it as much as I did because it's a hit or miss with what's it called? Oh my God, coming of age films for me. Yeah. So I vibed with that a lot. And I also want to give a shout out to The Order with Jude Law. It's a late December one. Justin Kurzel came out swinging with that, man. Really
that's
good.
Pretty good.
Netflix screwed that one too, and I was like,
Netflix.
Of course they did. It's fantastic. One of his best performances in a very long time. And Nicholas Hoult.
Yes.
My God, he's had banger after banger this year. I have to admit, he's very good. Yeah.
Well, for Overseen, it's the series that will never die. That just is like printing money, no matter how many they make. It's Despicable Me 4. Like, why did this make almost $1 billion? Like, what?
Wild. I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get
Facebook
it.
aunts need those memes.
Like, at least the last one had the whole like people dressing up in suits, and there was like something kind of like whatever. Like, it was okay. That's why everybody went to it. Still,
Parker
but there seems
was the villain in
but
that
this
movie,
one there
right?
was like nobody was even like talking. It's just like it was, and then it's still made.
Banana.
It's still made almost $1 billion, and you're just like, they could literally make one of these every month, and I think they would still all make.
Absolutely.
I think Illumination is just like, I don't understand how we keep doing this, but we keep doing this. My coworker actually showed me a scene with just like this cat and her owner doing Dance Dance Revolution. That's the only part he was like to his son, Liam Grayson, come here. You need to watch this. And that was it. That's all he wanted to show them. It's like, that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all that matters in this movie.
That out of Illumination, Meandry, I think it's Meandry.
Crazy.
Like they're geniuses. They're geniuses over there, evil geniuses. But somehow they managed.
The French. They made some of the worst movies this year. Amelia Perez and Despicable Me 4.
Oh
like,
my
why?
God.
I just will never understand it.
That's priceless. Oh my God.
I mean, what about you, Molly? Do you have an Overseen?
So for me, I was shocked. This one has made more than the previous film. And it's about to make $1 billion. Moana 2.
Yeah. I had that on my list, man. Yeah.
I was like,
I'm happy you
how
said
did
it.
this make over 200 million more than Moana already? And it's still playing in theaters. Just how? It's 4 episodes. It's like Belle's Magic World, except theatrically released. And then it made almost $1 billion. This should have just stayed on Disney+.
It's because people love the first one.
Yeah.
And they watched it on Disney+. They didn't watch it in theaters, apparally.
That is
it has nothing to do with, or it has very little to do with the actual quality of the film. It's just that's just a sign. Like, it'll be interesting because they're obviously going to do a Moana 3. It'll be interesting to see if
and the live action.
And then the live action, which is bizarre. Like, what on earth are they doing?
Oh my God. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if people feel underwhelmed by the second one, if the third one will be when you see that result, sometimes that happens. True. And you won't really, it's not until the next one comes out that you're like, oh yeah, people really didn't like that last one. But it seems like people are kind of like, it was fine. But yeah,
I gotta
agree.
keep my kid. I gotta get my kid to shut up for like an hour and a half. Let's go.
Which is a shame because I think The Wild Robot was still out at that time, and that was by far the
so much better. Yes,
by Wild. Yeah, a good choice. What about you, Manda?
Does it strictly have to be in a theater type situation, or can I turn to streaming?
Overseen,
yeah. Overseen. Who is watching Carry On? I don't understand. It broke records, and I'm like, I listen to Twitter.
I still haven't seen it either.
You don't have to. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, like I sat there and it's like everyone's raving. I love Taron Egerton so much. He needs a new agent. Like, just put him in something good.
Yes. Bad run.
Such a bad run. From Tetris to this, I'm like, homie, like,
it's because he missed the Oscar for Rocket Man. Now he's taking it out on us.
And it's not like Rami Malek's doing anything.
Yes.
Okay, Rami Malek's not doing anything after that Oscar, man. Like, you should this is just karma. And everyone's calling it the Die Hard, like a new Die Hard for Christmas. I said, no. That's not what we're doing.
Die Hard already is for Christmas.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what are you talking about? But I watched this film. It's forgettable. I don't even remember I don't remember any of it whatsoever. So I don't understand how it's overseen and is breaking records on Netflix. No idea. That was the point I was trying to make. I'm sorry. But like, I just got so mad. I'm like, no, it's so annoying.
Well, let's skip a couple. Let's go to Best Buddy Movie. Okay. And I got it. That one was pretty easy. I gotta go with A Real Pain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's the Best Buddy movie.
Yeah.
Even though he slaps him in the face.
That was so funny. Oh my God.
Yes.
I loved it.
What about you? What's your Best Buddy movie, Molly?
Mine is kind of a joke, but also serious. Challengers. Just to prove it, just like bro, you should still be friends and you should be able to go through this. And they actually reconnect at the end. They became best buddies / bromance. You may be in this throuple now. Just like, yeah, this would be a great thing to watch with your buddy. Like two dudes, like, yes, we need to watch Challengers. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I
agree with that.
What about you, Manda? What's the best buddy movie?
I went with the generic answer because I think they had really good chemistry, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that it's like the definition of like buddy. It was the first thing I thought of when I read this on the list as superlatives. So yeah, they did a good job.
So the next one, I called it Girlfriend Movie. What I was thinking of was like a girl's night out, and there were not that many to choose from that are like obvious. Hard. There's something like the Mean Girls movie, or there just weren't that many.
Yeah, no,
and that wasn't wasn't great, but like there wasn't that many movies geared towards women this year.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
So I had to go with Wicked. I think and that I'd wanted to go with my girlfriends and go see together.
Yeah, that's fair. I would take Wicked too.
I went with the interesting choice. I went with The Room Next Door with Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore because they're two female best friends and one of them is dying. And it's just like, what is more passionate and loving about a friendship between two women if you trust them to actually take care of you in your dying days? I'm just like, that's something that's just, and they spend time together and they're just like trying to catch these brief glimpses of happiness before Tilda Swinton's character dies. And it's just, I liked it more than I thought it was going to. I heard that it was like, it's just kind of meh for Pedro Almodovar, but I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it for a girls' night, the night out. Just like,
that'd be good.
Mona, what do you have?
I love both of these choices.
Oh, that's right. You said Wicked, yeah.
I did say, that was on my list, but I also want to give a shout out because it's in my top 10 to Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. I think fun girls' night just to be able to enjoy certain things that I will not talk about here on this podcast. It's G-rated. But I think it's saucy enough to have fun with, like Magic Mike level of fun. So I think that'd be fun for girls' night.
Yeah, I wish that
I
the
wish I was in my
characters had more
20s again,
fun.
just so I can just go there and be like, oh, I'm the youngest one here. And everybody's got their wine glass like I was. I was like 20 when I saw Magic Mike with my 19-year-old coworker. And we were just like, we are the only people under 40 here. Just like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, it is a good time.
Next we're talking about was a female filmmaker to shout out to. And for me, I thought of Caroline Lindy for Your Monster. I really had fun with this. It's a new take on Beauty and the Beast with some horror elements, and so yeah, she'd be my pick. What about you, Molly?
So I already discussed Good One and Janet Planet, which was my thing. So I'm gonna discuss All We Imagine Is Light by Payal Kapadia.
It's a good one.
That was really good. I thought she did a fantastic job directing all these people and actually going through with interlocking these stories with these three women. And it just really was well done. And I'm so glad she's getting all the acclaim, especially when India's film commission just completely screwed her over by not nominating it for an Oscar, but now it's being nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. So so it's just like, okay.
Which one did they pick?
One that was just like, that didn't even make the short list. It's just,
of course,
really, I think it's because
they did that with RRR too.
Yeah, I think it's because it was looking at women who are in the lower class system. I think that's what they were.
RRR, it would have won.
I know. They were just, I don't know. I think a part of that is because there are a lot of Indian audiences who are like, I don't want to look at the films that are about our poverty people and all this, and it's just like, well, these are real people, we should shine a light on them. And they're like,
they're the worst.
I know,
that's terrible. I can't believe they didn't submit it.
I know. It was just like, it was so Payal, it's so good.
I don't think that they should have a limit on the international films. They should not have a limit. It should just be, if there's a year that all the good movies are coming out of Germany, then it should just be Germany's year, and they should be able to nominate them. If it's Japan's year,
more than just one.
Year.
It needs to have it. They should send in like 5 movies minimum.
Yeah, it's bogus
and
like
more.
It should just be the best movies. It shouldn't be like, oh, they have to submit one. That's so dumb.
I know.
I don't like it. Like,
I don't like it either.
Please fix it.
Yeah,
please.
There's always movies that get screwed because of that.
It's true.
I know. The Handmaiden got screwed too. Like, they nominated another film in South Korea. It's like,
it's so annoying.
Handmaiden
well, didn't Anatomy of a Fall had the same situation happen?
Yeah. Yes. They nominated something else from France. And I was like,
it was the Taste of Everything or something.
Yeah, that's right. That was a great movie too.
Which it's just stupid. It's dumb. It is. Like it's a competition for the best movie. It should just be the best movies. And if one country has a better year, that's yay.
And let them submit more than one. Let them submit others and let the voting body decide this is the one we're going to let in.
Like, these competitions are not supposed to be fair. They're supposed to be the best.
Yes.
It's true.
That's what I think.
The whole point of it.
That's what I think. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Mona, what about you?
This is for female director, right?
Filmmaker.
Yeah, female filmmaker. Oh, sorry. So I'm gonna go way back, and I'm gonna do Lisa Frankenstein, which I really enjoyed and expect to love it. Shout out to Zelda Williams, so underrated. One of my favorites of the year too. I love that movie. It was just so unique,
was fun
and special and fun. Like, it was just a good time. And Diablo Cody, I think it's one of her best in a while. So I really like that marriage of Williams and Cody. So I hope we get to see more of Zelda Williams, because I'm really proud of her for this one.
Whenever I play The Cure, I always do like, oh, I have the cure. Well, it won't heal you physically, but it will mentally. I still quote that whenever I'm playing The Cure.
If you like that, you all should definitely see Your Monster, because they're very similar.
I want to so badly.
I do as well. They did never send me a screener.
Yeah, very similar vibes. The only thing that about Lisa Frankenstein that I would have changed is get rid of that other guy. Like,
same.
Yes.
And have it just be the relationship, because it felt a little bit like an afterthought. I'm like, you know, I don't know. That would be my only thing. But I enjoyed it. Okay, let's see here. Let's skip over some of these. So best action. I had to go with Kill is the Indian film, which is another one they evidently ignored in their submissions, which is ridiculous. But this was an incredible, like, if you like hand-to-hand punching, fighting, whatever, I don't know what it's called, but like if you like that kind of
combat,
then
choreography,
yes.
Sure.
If you like one-on-one, that kind of action, not like blowing up buildings and stuff like that. It is really well staged and very bloody and very intense and very entertaining. It's only 90 minutes for an Indian movie. Unbelievable.
There's no musical numbers. That's how that helps.
That is good. That is good.
Yes.
That's true.
So it's very impressive. A lot of people compare it to the Raid on a train. And I think there's some
that is good.
Yeah.
The validity.
That does sound good.
So, Molly, what about you? Did you see any action this year that you liked?
Well, it is also one that I discussed earlier in the half, but Furiosa is still probably my favorite with action.
Yeah.
I just love how the environment works so well in the action scenes with the setup and how it's placed. And it's just like, George Miller's just so good with choreographing this action and how it's staged, and of course having the environment working to your advantage, and just like, and it's just so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
What about you, Manda? What do you think?
I had Furiosa, and I had like I want to obviously say Monkey Man again. I think Monkey Man had one of like these like just kinetic action scenes that like you were playing a video game with him. I thought it was freaking brilliant. Even Bad Boys Ride or Die had some really unique action scenes, and it was such a fun movie. I loved that movie. It was so fun. It came out like early on too. But they both had really good action scenes, and of course Dune Part 2, I think the choreography was fantastic as well.
Yeah, I can see that. So then biggest waterworks, I have to go to Ghostlight for me for that. And also to Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. I was like, waterworks.
I have to watch it still, but I'm scared to cry, to be honest.
It was, and it was really a portrait of a family and how they evolved and adapted and loved each other and grew to love each other more. And that was what was, I think, most moving about it. And then when not only he dies, but then Dana dies, and then you've got Will up there talking about, it was just like, it was very, and of course it's not on the short list for documentaries because the documentary branch of the Academy is a total joke and ridiculous.
My critic group nominated it, so
what's that?
We nominated the Superman.
Same with us.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's reasonable. I mean, they didn't even make a short list. Come on, what a joke! If it's not like a Talking Heads issue movie, like it's like they want every movie to be Al Gore with a PowerPoint. It's so ridiculous. But like, what about you? What's your biggest waterworks?
So my biggest waterworks were Hard Truth and The Wild Robot. Those are the two movies I cried the most. Like Wallace and Gromit is an honorable mention. I did cry during the climax for that one. I was just like,
I love it.
I had to Hard Truth was, man, it was a tough watch for me just because it was so unpleasant. But like, she was so unpleasant. But she did an incredible acting job.
It's my favorite performance of the year.
I agree.
That and Xiao Tao from Caught by the Tides are two of my favorite performances.
I haven't seen that. When she starts to cry, when she has that crying scene.
Yes.
It is really good.
It is so good.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. What about you, Manda? What was your crier?
Wild Robot for sure, as I mentioned before. I wept several times during Wicked, and I don't know why. I was just very overwhelmed with emotion. The Ozdas ballroom scene and everything after that, I was just crying. I get goosebumps every time I watch it, which is crazy. And A Real Pain, I cried straight through. I didn't expect to at all. And I was like, I think that's why it's in my top 10. Because I did not expect to love it as much as I did. And I think it's some of Jesse Eisenberg's like best work to date. So I was crying. Yeah.
All right. Next we have I have biggest scare. What I really mean is like the best horror movie. And for me, that was Strange Darling. I just thought it was so clever and some people might say, what's more of a thriller or whatever. I don't know. There's blood. Who knows what the difference between thriller and horror is, but I really thought it was very, very fun. So
it was very good.
I love my favorite. What about you, Molly?
So mine was actually one that I actually got because someone sent it to me, and I was like, yes, because I wanted to see because I saw Kiyoshi Kurosawa release 3 films this year. And one of them was my favorite horror film now, and it's Chime.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's like this ghost story, and this professor, the students they feel that they hearing voices in this classroom and in this building where this professor teaches, and some of them make the kids go crazy. And there's this great scene where a kid actually just they're just like, please stop, please stop. He's got a butcher knife right next to his.
Oh, it's only 45 minutes.
It is too. And I was like, whoa. And then actually inserts it into his head slowly, and you're like, oh my God, and everybody's screaming, and it's the scariest scene I saw this year. It's just so good. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is a master of horror. And I was just like, yes, this is what I like. And I watched it during my lunch break. I was just like, I got time for this. It's only 45 minutes.
That's perfect.
Yes. I was just like, oh man, so good. So good. Chime is great. I highly recommend.
That's cool.
Noted.
Nice. All right, Mana, what about you?
I'm gonna go with the most generic answer, which is Longlegs. I love that thing. I loved it. And like, I also shout out to Trapped because I also think it's been unfairly treated.
Trap is underrated. Trap is good.
It's very good. Like, I really enjoy. Again, I didn't expect to like it because a lot of M. Night's work I haven't, I have a love-hate relationship with. But this was very good. And
I still stand by that is a Lifetime movie that he reworked for his daughter.
Technically,
it does feel
the Sixth Sense was inspired by a Nickelodeon show. So
there you go. This is what he's watching. It's the quality of it.
Some people were like offended by that. I'm like, no, like there's a craft to making a schlocky Lifetime thriller, and it has all of the elements. It even has the aging child star coming back, which all these movies have. It'll be like, and then Haley Mills back, random. It wasn't my favorite, but I get it.
Like even with Longlegs, like Nicolas Cage's performance is gonna just haunt me. Like the whole year it was haunting me. So it was very good. And that opening scare, it's not like a cheap scare either, because you just don't realize that he's gonna pop up. And it's just, whoa, okay, sick. So it was really cool.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Best adaptation of a book, I have to go with Best Christmas Pageant Ever. I mean, you can tell that Dallas Jenkins was a big fan of this book. It is extremely true to the book, even to the point of the Herdmans smoking cigars, which I was shocked because they don't even have villains. Like Cruella de Vil didn't smoke in the Cruella movie. Like you just never see in family films. Character smoking. Like that's unheard of. So they were really true to this book, and it's a charming book. And it was just like it's the way that we should be wanting faith-based films to be made with just that are honest and true and not preachy and about characters and that we can relate with. And it was a really good movie that I can imagine being part of people's holiday cycles going forward.
Yeah, which is good.
And I got to interview Dallas over at Hallmarkies podcast, which was pretty cool.
Yes.
But what
they
about
didn't
you,
even
Molly?
allow the penguin to smoke, actually. Like,
yeah, they didn't allow
Colin
Colin
Farrell was
Firth
very upset
to
he didn't get to do the
smoke.
cigars. They're like, no, you can't do that. The kids might smoke.
So the
She's like,
kid
"But
in
that's the
Christmas pageant
penguin."
ever got to smoke a cigar and Colin Firth in it.
Unreal.
They don't even allow
Really.
villains to smoke anymore.
Yeah, but that's just how true they were to this book. So like, which I appreciate because it's a very sweet book. So they didn't like
I'm sure-
modernize it or make it annoying like they could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've noticed I have a Dune right here, and I haven't actually read the book. I haven't read the whole series yet. I still need to read Dune Messiah and the others. But it was actually a good adaptation. It wasn't my favorite.
Very
It wasn't
good.
in my favorite movies, but I liked the changes they made from the book. Because in the book, I was like, okay, they did this in Lynch's version. It just was awkward. And you just like the baby sister is a 4-year-old who speaks like she's 40 years old because she has the entire generations of all the other women before her. Just like there is just very creepy, and you're like, and she's the one that actually kills the Baron, like
But it is
stabs him.
Alicia Witt, future
Yeah.
Hallmark star.
Yeah, it's just like, this is not going to work well. So I think they did a great job with changing it and actually bringing up her character, and it's Anya Taylor-Joy for the next film. So she's going to have more of a part, especially in Children of Dune, if they get to that. So I was like, yeah, this actually is really done very well. And they changed what needed to be changed.
They did.
I don't like Dune, but I fully admit that it is a very good adaptation. I just don't.
It
I
is
just don't like it. I just don't
the
like
book.
Dune.
I don't blame you because the book even is like it's so dense that like they finally did a good adaptation. I don't blame you, Rachel.
It's as good.
Yeah.
It's as good an adaptation of Dune as you could make, and that's why I never put my review on Rotten Tomatoes or anything, because I just didn't feel like it was fair, because I think it's a good Dune movie. I just don't like Dune. And like, I think as critics, we all have that happen sometimes where it's like, this is a good example of doing what it's trying to do. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Which is fair at the same time.
You know? And so it's like, how do you even rate it? Like the first one, I gave it a positive review, even though I didn't like it, because I could tell it was just good, but it wasn't made for me. But I don't know. I don't even know if I'll watch the third one because it's just not for me.
Yeah, which again, like that makes complete sense. But Messiah, people are gonna lose their minds. Molly, when you read it, trust me, it's intense. So,
do you agree then, Dune, for your pick for this?
I would. Well, now that Molly said Dune, I do agree. I think it's one of the best adaptations because the book is extremely dense. It's like it's like 800, 900 pages like that. It's a lot of sand politics that you gotta. Not sand, sorry, spice politics that you gotta.
Yes.
I'm still confused, but it just runs on vibes after a while.
Yeah, it really does.
I guess
it does, and I do want to give a shout out.
That's why the hippies loved it.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about franchises that need to die. And we already talked about Despicable Me 4. It will never die. But I'm gonna say the Sony Spider-Verse. I think it is dead, but it needs to be dead.
Rachel, not on this podcast, please.
Come on, they were so bad this year. I've been a Venom defender.
I know.
Even that was disappointing this year. Venom 3. I thought like it wasn't. It took itself too seriously. It was trying to be all epic and this like grand farewell, and like all of a sudden he's on a road trip, and like it just wasn't as good as the other two, in my opinion.
I'm so sad that you said it. It's okay. It's fine. I understand. I completely understand. I still didn't watch Craven yet. I have had zero time, and I just
can't imagine Aaron Taylor Johnson is like this baritone-esque Russian guy, because I'm like his voice is too soft. It's it was much lower in Nosferatu, which I was surprised by. I was like, wait, I expected it to be higher, and people are saying it was high. I was like, no, it was not. It was low this time.
Sean Chandler said like the whole theater was erupted in laughter.
I saw that too.
Bad, like so bad it's good. Like this is like the Room level here, and I'm like, that was the only reason I thought
is it as good as Madam Web?
I mean, I cried during Venom: The Last Dance. I kind of got emotional. I love those characters. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like I really did get emotional. It was the last one. But I also think the reason why I enjoyed Venom is that like there's a finality to this third film that we didn't get with other franchise, like any other like trilogies, and they keep going. So I think that like there's closure here that I appreciated versus what everyone else has been doing. But I do get it. Like they need to either do better or just
it just wasn't as funny as the other ones. The other ones were a lot.
Get executives that know what
good
movies are, because apparently the executives like, I liked Craven. And I was like, no one else did. You need better taste.
Let's fix
Get
this.
executives with better taste.
I mean, this has to be without a doubt the worst movie. This has to be without the worst year for superhero movies ever.
It is. It really is.
The
and I'm worried about
the People's
next year.
Joker. The People's Joker was the best one.
True.
Yeah, I mean it probably was. I didn't see it, but it's. I mean,
I'm scared for next year.
It's been terrible, but
It has been.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's just been bad. But let's see here. Where are we at? Okay.
I think I need to speak about what my franchise I want to die.
Franchise you need to die, Molly?
So I'm gonna miff off some people here, but Deadpool needs to end. I am so tired of it. I'm so tired of people giving these fake superlatives for it. Like, this is the most pro-gay superhero film ever. It's like, no, it's not. They are like frat boy homophobic going on. I got a bunch of people angry at me because I was not happy with how Wolverine was being so misogynistic, and the series is really misogynistic. It just really gets on it, and people were like, he was angry. It's like, that doesn't make any excuse to call his ex-girlfriend a whore, and that it's embarrassing she dumped him because she's lesser than, because she's a sex worker. I was like Wolverine doesn't do this. He doesn't do this in the comics. They just made them do that. It's just like, it was middle school childish humor, which for sometimes it was funny, but otherwise you're just like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm just done. Can we end this series? And I'm tired of seeing Ryan Reynolds. He's basically playing himself. And it just, I was just tired of it. And it made $1 billion. And I was like, why? Why? I was
over $1 billion.
Over $1 billion. Actually, it had the humor of middle schoolers. That's why. That's why. So
it did make me laugh. Like,
I laughed.
The plot. Anytime that they like tried to connect it to the multiverse or tried to make it make sense, then it was like boring, and I disliked it.
Even my brother was just like it felt like it didn't really need to exist. I liked it, but it didn't even feel like it needed to exist. And my brother's just a casual movie theater movie goer.
I still hold the theory that they should have just had it be all a dream, because then they wouldn't have had to worry about any of that time. It could have just been this like,
that is true.
It could have just been joke. Like when I'm watching Monty Python, which I think was an inspiration, Holy Grail. When I'm watching Holy Grail, I'm not like worried about what is the plot. Who cares? It's just one bit after bit after bit after bit. And that's basically what they did, but they felt the need to tie it into the MCU and everything, and that was dumb. But
it also had the issue of looking ugly too. I was just like, it was the same thing with Wicked. I was like, God, this is ugly. Why was this $200 million looking ugly? I was like, ugh. Even though I feel like Wicked has less of an excuse, because Wicked, there are some beautiful shots in there, but Deadpool is just ugly straight through.
Like, I feel like I'm just not that sophisticated when it comes to that kind of thing, because I'm just like, I don't know, it looked okay. I don't know. Like, I guess I just don't know. Like,
I was watching Andrea Arnold's film that would have
watch Hallmark movies for my job. I'm not as sophisticated.
It's gorgeous. Bird. It was gorgeous to look at. It was gorgeous to watch. I was like, why is this $5 million Bird? Andrea Arnold's film. And I was like, why is this movie look so gorgeous? And then
even
you watch
Brutalist was super cheap, and you look at some of the shots that they got.
Beautiful work.
I know. It's like, where's this money going? It's not going together. It's not going. I'm just like, that's what it really is.
Red One, how horrible that
was. Oh, geez. It stole the joy of Christmas.
Stole the joy. You couldn't even tell what was happening
Santa.
In most scenes.
You
like,
couldn't,
literally,
it was gray.
It was fuzzy. Kids.
It was gray and black, and I'm like, where's the red and the green and the colors, my friends? Where are they?
Support your local military, kids. Join the army.
brutal.
Yeah, part of the army too.
And the MCU, I mean, now they're announcing Robert Downey Jr. back, Chris Evans, and I'm just like, oh, that's so
I
groany.
want to just, I was kind of on board with the Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, you know what? If they can pull this off, I understand, because the whole multiverse, blah, 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 like all of that stuff, I get it. But Chris Evans coming back, I had to draw, like, I'm done. Like, I'm
just
clocked out. That really got me mad, because you had closure with his character. I don't want to see his face again in the MCU. I really don't. So that pissed me off.
I feel like only Rian Johnson and Bong Joon-ho are the only two directors he's worked with that know how to use him very well. Otherwise, he just works with some of the worst directors, and you're just like, you're way more talented than this, Chris Evans. But he just does.
I'm hoping with Celine's song that he does something. And that she gets him. So I'm hoping for that. But it's not looking good for him.
Well,
no.
There's not that many franchises where I'm like, I want more. But the one that I have is I need more Wallace and Gromit now. It was so good, and like
it was,
and I could let's just keep making them, even if it's just because they started out with shorts, and I love those early Wallace and Gromit shorts. So you could even just Aardman could just give us some of those every now and then, and I would be perfectly happy.
They do have the cracking contraptions, but I'm not sure they're doing that. They did have a couple shorts with that. So.
But I just really enjoyed it, so that's one I could see. Do you have any, Molly, that you'd like to see more of?
Franchise I like to see more of, like I don't know. I'm just like, because whenever I hear just like franchise, I'm just like, do I want this to keep going more than one? Do I want this to be a franchise?
I mean, sometimes, I guess technically I want Wicked, but that's different. That's the second part.
I know that the Wild Robot's a book series.
I could see the Wild Robot.
Yeah. So that would be really
fine
cute
with that, as long as Chris Saunders is back on there.
Absolutely. I think that'd be really nice. But also, like, to go back to the franchise that I don't want anymore, it would be all the live action Disney films to just
please
end it. And they're only doubling down. I mean, next year it's going to be brutal. We have Snow White, Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, and
it looks exactly like the Stitch. It did exactly like Pinocchio. It just looks exactly like the anime figure, just CGI. So it just does not match whatsoever with any of that. Like, and it works for Sonic. I don't think it's going to work for Stitch.
The only thing that gives me a tiny bit of hope for that is that it's Dean Fleischer Camp who did Marcel the Shell.
Yeah,
so maybe it will to do something with it, but that's it.
Oh, and the How to Train Your Dragon live action, even though that's not Disney.
That trailer was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen in my life.
My mom's excited for it, and I'm like, no. This is what we're not going to do.
It looked it really looked like
no, Mom, no.
It really looked like they went into ChatGPT and wrote How to Train Your Dragon live action and it spit it out.
Yeah, it really does.
Did. Probably what they
did. And it's kind of sad because A24 had another trailer for a film that looked very similar, but looks way better. And it's not based on animated franchise. I was like, oh, okay, then.
They have a dragon movie coming out?
No, it's like it's like a film where a girl goes on a quest and she's got this little monkey CGI thing on her, but it actually looks really cute. You know, people thought it was AI, unfortunately, so the director had to come out on Twitter and say, this was not AI. I don't know why you're thinking this. This was all done, all with stop motion, all with CGI. And I felt so bad for the director. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, guy.
I haven't heard of that. I'll have to check that out.
I think it's coming out on Sundance. I'm not sure. But it is playing, I think it's coming out in March. Like, it's from A24, and it's one of their family adventure films, which is actually surprising they're doing one. But yeah.
Well, let's finish off. Let's talk about the best indie. And I already talked about Ghostlight and Real Pain and some of these other things, but and Musica. But can't have a best of year without me giving a shout out to Hundreds of Beavers.
Yes.
Yeah.
How funny, how ridiculous, the visual style, the fact they made it all in $150,000 is unbelievable.
Yes. And they already got all the money back just from Blu-ray sales. Like, it's sold out. I had to text my friend and be like, you need to get 100 of Beavers now. It's about to sell out. And then they sold out 2,000 copies. That's not including the limited edition. That sold out in like an hour. And then they're like, okay, we're adding more. And so they added like 2,000 more, and that sold out in a week. So they already got all their budget back.
Yeah, their social media has been absolutely brilliant. If you're not following them on X or whatever,
I've seen that, yeah.
highly recommend. And they had said, because they're bringing it back into theaters, and they had said, like, who wants it? You know, here's where we're having. And I was like, when are you coming to Utah? You have lots of fans. I was surprised that it didn't get something for Utah Film Critics Association.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was near the top in a lot of categories, because there's quite a few of us who are fans, and but it didn't. But you know, I was like, when are you coming to Utah? And so then when they announced, because I'm going to see it this weekend, because it's coming to Salt Lake Film Society at the Broadway. And they announced, they're like, now Utahns, you can stop complaining.
No way. That's amazing.
They need to come to North Carolina. They did come to Asheville. I was like, I can't drive 4 hours. Please come closer to me.
Message them on
I know. It's like, we have an Alamo Draft House. Play over here.
Oh yeah.
That's so funny.
You definitely gotta tweet them, and they will make it happen.
Yes.
But that was just so funny, and I just it was so exciting and fun and creative, and it is a little too long, you know. I wish that they'd had the guts to make it the 45 minutes. Like that would be like the perfect length for it. But other than that, that wasn't a deal breaker for me. I still just really enjoyed the experience of watching it. So that was my indie that I really enjoyed this year. What about you, Molly?
So besides that, I did really like All We Imagine Is Light, but also Dahomey from Mati Diop. I love her movie Atlantics, and this one just like blew me away.
What's it?
Dahomey. It's a documentary / fiction narrative about these artifacts coming back to this home country in Africa, and the artifacts actually speak about the history they've been through. So, and it's really good. I was mesmerized for it. It reminds me of Atlantiques, where it's very much it's a lot like a ghost story without having. Even though Atlantics did have ghosts, this one does not have ghosts, but it's just ghosts of the past, like almost speaking to you. And you hear about this history, you hear about this colonization, and it's done in just this surreal way that I really loved. And I know it's been considered, besides No Other Land, one of the best documentary of the year. And it is so good. And Mati Diop deserves all the praise. I'm just like, if there's one French director I want her to keep making movies, it's Mati. I will just like, please keep working. Cool. Please give her all the money.
Isn't it amazing with the number of movies that we see? Like, I saw over 300 new films in 2024. There's still ones that I haven't even heard of.
I know, I have so many. I'm already watching some more. I'm just like, I'm not done.
It's unbelievable. What about you, Manda? What's your indie pick?
So I just got sidetracked. 1 second. I did have one. Oh my God, I did have one. Now it was at the tip of my tongue.
Like, I write mine down.
I wrote mine down, but I kept changing while I was reading it. I was oh no. Indie. Oh yes, A Different Man. I want to talk about. I do. A Different Man.
Yes.
That's the one. It was like at the tip of my tongue. A Different Man. I think Sebastian Stan was fantastic in that. I also think Adam Pearson was fantastic in that. Yes. I really love that story. But the thing is that I didn't expect the second half of that film whatsoever.
Yeah.
Did not expect it. I think that's what drove me absolutely nuts, because I was like, wow, they really went there with just like it was such a transformative role for him too. And also like Adam Pearson was the sweetest human being alive.
So good. He was so good in that movie.
And and I just think that just losing yourself after getting what you want and then just spiraling was absolutely crazy. So like
that was what I was like, this is what the substance should have been more like. This is what I was like, this worked better than that movie for me.
I actually missed that one. I still haven't seen it, but it's on the list. Oh, very good. All right, we did it. So I'll put these categories in the description. Let us know what you think of all the different things that we talked about. Many we talked about, but it was a lot of fun. And Molly, how can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Raspberry Raz. You can find some of my writings on Letterboxd under the same name, and also on Mollywood Rice at WordPress.com.
Great. And Manda?
Yeah, you guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube at Candid Cinema.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you check out our playlist with all our female film critics panels episodes. And also, me and Manda do the blind spot every month. So we just announced our new picks for 2025, and we've got some pretty fun movies. So definitely want to take a look at that. And make sure you check out Hallmarkies podcast. Check out lots of fun stuff over there as well, including Molly joined me for a recap this holiday season. So that was really fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And so take a look at that and check out the patron group. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. If you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate. And then we have the merch store. You get the Female Film Critics Panels logo shirt and other cool designs. I would really appreciate it. And thanks so much to both of you. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.